Oop. I always like to start off these shows with a little music. Can you hear that?
Yep.
Welcome to the BNI Blast on Blab. If you're listening to this on the replay, retweet and share this with your followers and fellow BNI and business networking colleagues. We always like to start off with a little definition of what is BNI. BNI is an acronym, stands for Business Networking International. BNI is the largest business networking organization in the world with over 7,000 chapters, 190,000 members. In 2015, BNI generated over 7.5 million referrals, resulting in more than $9.3 billion worth of business for its members. BNI offers members the opportunity to share ideas, contacts, but most importantly, referrals. So we're really happy to have our special guest all the way from the West Coast, 3-hour time difference, Nathan Greenberg. Nathan is the CEO and founder of Arkside Marketing. Arkside Marketing, a full service advertising agency. There's a lot of advertising agencies nowadays. His is a full service advertising agency, and he's going to get into that in a few minutes. On his website, he says they offer a focused approach so that when you see a positive return, on your marketing investment. So value is a key proposition. Fill in any gaps to that intro, Nathan, and share something personal about yourself.
Oh, personal? Well, let's not bore people. My company gets occasionally poked and jabbed by BNI every time we go to an MSP, and we are constantly reminded that, well, I don't know what full service means, so don't use that in your description. Well, in our industry, full service is actually a very important term because many ad agencies are very specific in their offerings. They're exclusively digital or exclusively print or exclusively broadcast. Whereas our goal is to really look at the entire strategy as a whole and then assign, not based on a bias, but based on an investment strategy of where will you get the best return. So when we say full service, it's because we combine everything from the promotional products at the event to how you promote the event, how do you measure the results from the event. It is full service, and it's quite an appropriate term.
Very good. We also like to introduce ourselves a little bit. So there's Nathan. My name is Brian Lobig. I'm the founder of Lobig Inc. Web Consulting here in the Washington, D.C. area, a member of a chapter of BNI called the BNI Capital Business Alliance, and my co-host, Philip.
Hi, I'm Philip Day. I have my own business, Philip Day Communications, in Charlottesville, Virginia. My company does a lot of things, but I think I would like to focus on website development tonight. We do websites in HTML and WordPress format, and we'd be open to doing other formats too. I work with Brian and another website developer, and what we try to do is help communicate businesses to communicate to other businesses and to other consumers. And I'm happy to be here tonight with our special guest, Nathan Greenberg.
So the first question we have for you is, I'm always curious about how people get started in their business. How long has your business been around, and what motivated you to found it?
That's probably one of the more complicated stories you've ever heard about starting a business. I started my first company when I was still in high school, and I ran that for 7 years, and then finally decided that I should probably focus on college. That was probably not the brightest idea since I left college before graduating. I pulled a Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and I said, you know what? The real world is more exciting than college, and I left. I started this company, Arkside Marketing, just last month. We celebrated our 6-year anniversary. I started this company because I was with another ad agency that was collapsing. And there was some ownership improprieties that I became aware of. And I created Arkside simply as to meet the needs of what were our largest clients at the time, because they couldn't afford to have their ad agency fall apart. They needed continual representation. They needed contracts and invoices to still be monitored and audited, et cetera. So that's how this company came into being. And then shortly after that, I ended up becoming a full-time director of marketing for one of my clients. And Arkside basically became a night and weekend project for a couple of years. Finally, I ended up leaving that employer under good terms. Everything was fine. Just decided that Arkside was much more of a priority and there was more of a need in the market. So I relaunched Arkside as a full-time endeavor again. Been doing that now for 2.5 years. And meeting the needs that I still believe are not met by most ad agencies in the world in terms of how do you integrate media and do that with a holistic strategy. So I started it because I've worked on every side of the media industry. I've worked on the media side, the client side, and the agency side. And there were things that I always found a hole, and that was where I think Arkside can fill.
Very good.
Nathan, tell me about, I'm into branding. I love brands, and I love to help clients create their brands. What is your philosophy about branding for a small business in particular, and how do you go about the process? If you can tell us how you do that. I don't know if that's proprietary there, but I'd love to know how you do it. Yeah.
The reason it's not proprietary is because of the definition I'm about to give you. The best explanation that I've ever seen came from Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos when he said, "Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room."
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very often, especially on the small business level, most business owners or marketing executives, they feel that their brand is their logo, or their logo and their colors, or whatever's on their website and their letterhead. Those are things that support a brand, but your brand is absolutely the opinion of others. And when it comes to building your brand, which ties in perfectly to tonight's topic of marketing in the new millennium, your brand is what other people say about you. Your brand is what other people think about you and maybe don't say, because that influences their purchasing decision. So when it comes to a small business, especially, they don't have the massive budgets of the Coca-Colas and IBMs of the world, but they don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be successful on their level against their local competitors, or wherever their competitors are. It doesn't have to be local. They have to succeed in what is the Latin definition of advertising, which is advertari, to turn toward. You have to get people to focus on you and show up on their consideration list. If you can't do that, it's because of your brand and nothing else.
Fantastic. That kind of leads to another great question about marketing in the new millennium. How have you seen kind of marketing approaches change from like 10, 15 years ago to now? You kind of hinted at it to what people say about you and how making those heads turn. But give us some more examples of how you really seen kind of the industry change.
The biggest change in the last 10 to 15 years has been technological, certainly, mostly because of the internet and specifically social media. Social media has impacted, positively or negatively, changed every element of marketing. And if you go back to the definition I just gave of it being about people's opinion and what they say about you when you're not there, social media enables that in ways that have never been possible before. One of the things that I do when I'm teaching either classes about branding or classes about word of mouth, which, and as the ad guy in the room, I will tell you, word of mouth is still the best advertising you can ever have. When you have people where word of mouth is no longer John talking to Jane, but it's now John talking to his 300 closest friends on Facebook, that's word of mouth today.
Yep, exactly.
So in terms of the changes to the industry, you could ask anybody who used to publish the Yellow Pages. You could ask any newspaper publisher in the world. What has technology done? It's completely revamped how people communicate. Ask any Arab dictator. I mean, all of these right. have become mostly positive, but they have fundamentally altered how we think about things. Another great example would be an app on your phone. You expect results instantaneously. That changes marketing. I mean, if your brand is based on people's opinion and you're leaving them hanging when they need something solved now, and they tweet you and you don't tweet back, you have a brand problem, not a marketing problem.
Yep.
Now, when you're looking at marketing in the new millennium, I like looking at trends. I mean, you just talked a little bit about the social media. What would you say are some of a few of the dominant trends that marketers like Brian and myself and others who have to do marketing for their own business should pay attention to this year and the coming years, Nathan?
I think the biggest one that people need to focus on started a few years ago as social media grew into its own, as search engines fundamentally changed the way they did business and the way people use them. And that is focusing on relationships. Many of the people on this call may be familiar with a chief marketing officer named Ted Rubin.
Oh, yeah.
Ted Rubin has, I believe, trademarked the term return on relationship.
Yep.
And he stresses that people prioritize that above a return on investment. I don't see them as separate. I think you can invest in people the same way you can invest in media. I should say in different ways, but certainly expecting similar results because people react to media. So they're certainly connected. But the biggest trend that I think any business, I don't care if you're Oracle or if you're, John's gun shop down in the local corner, you need to focus on your relationships with people. It has to be about how do you connect with somebody, because regardless of who your end customer is, some human being is making a decision, and that's psychology. It's not formulaic. It's not based on spreadsheet. Something is causing that person to choose you or not choose you. And understanding that relationship will make it much more valuable, because most people, and this has been repeated time and time again in multiple studies, on average, 9 out of 10 people will pay more for better service. So if cost is not the ultimate deciding factor, what is? It's a relationship.
Yep.
So I'm very much supportive of what Ted Rubin is trying to do in terms of educating people on that concept, in that if you focus on relationships, you will retain more people. They will give you better word of mouth, which means you get more new business organically.
Very good.
Now, if I can follow up on that, go ahead, Brian. You may go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to follow up on the question. Well, relationship marketing. It's not always easy to do, because if I have a client, let's say in Texas, I mean, how do you build a relationship if you're states away? You know what I mean? How do you do that with your own business?
Well, I could be a sarcastic guy right now and say you and I are chatting and we are 3,000 miles away, regardless of time difference. Technology changes things. The other is really just getting to know your client. Don't make any step of the relationship solely about the transaction. Get to know who your customer is, understand what kind of people they are. Like I said, it's a person making a decision to buy from you. It's not a company. It's not a computer. And I think that if you can get to know people better, I'll give you an example. We just had one of our clients, unfortunately, he had a family member pass away. And the reason I knew that was because we stay in touch and we want to make sure things are proceeding normally according to our schedules and our strategies. And he said, look, I'm not going to be able to meet with you on Thursday or Friday. I had a family member pass away and I'll be at a funeral. So we sent a sympathy card and a little gift basket. That changes things, because the next time somebody comes to him and says, hey, we'd love to take over your marketing, he may think, wow, that company's cheaper, but are they better?
Yeah. Do they care?
Yeah. So I think that when it comes to how a business improves those relationships, it's about understanding them on a person-to-person level. We have a law firm client who's great at that. They try to learn as much as they can about their clients, and their clients are organizations. They don't do like personal injury or bankruptcy or anything. It's solely a B2B business. And they really focus on getting to know people. And when they go to conferences, when they go to trade shows, they're greeted warmly, and they greet people warmly because everybody knows them as people and then lawyers. And I know that sounds horribly insulting, but that's the industry, so too bad.
That's good.
Do you have just going back to social media? Do you ever have clients who are reluctant or just kind of adverse to the whole, just social media in general? And how do you deal with that? Is that something you try to convince them that it is, something they need to be involved in, especially if it's a specific business that really could benefit from social media? Have you experienced that? And then how do you handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest challenges is somebody that's a B2B type of an entity, and they have that mindset of, what is social media going to do for me? My corporate client isn't going to find me on Facebook. They're not going to care. That may be true, but the decision maker at that corporation may find you on LinkedIn and want to connect with you. And it's a great way to learn more about them. What are their hobbies? What school did they graduate from? Who else do they know that you may know? How do you use social media to achieve other goals other than simply blasting out ads every 3 days or whatever a promoted post will do for you?
Right.
So not only can social media help you achieve that relationship goal that I just described, but social media can also help you learn about the business, learn about the decision makers, help you find the decision makers. I mean, LinkedIn has changed sales incredibly because now you're not guessing who you need to find. The other thing that social media can do is go beyond the relationships. What other things does it achieve? Well, one of the biggest accomplishments of social is that it's a really powerful SEO tool. When you're trying to help your page go to page 1 of Google, you need social media. Most recent studies have shown that somewhere between 5 and 7 of the top 10 ranking factors for Google is social. They want to know that the business that you are talking about online is being talked about by other people. Are they interacting with your content? Are they engaging with it? If Google sees that, it shows them that, hey, not only is this a real business, so the fraud count goes down, but also it's a relevant business.
Mm-hmm.
And what most people need to understand is that Google's goal in page 1 is not to serve ads.
Mm-hmm.
It's to give you relevant results. And if they can prove or at least detect that relevance through social media, then fine. Let's say you don't make another connection ever again. You don't learn anything about your clients and all of the relationship stuff is gone. If you can engage with your clients, if you can engage with prospective clients, at least you've achieved some SEO value.
Excellent thought.
Speaking of SEO, that's one of our favorite things, right, Brian? We love SEO.
So you're the one.
Tell us the importance of SEO when you're looking at your website, and what would you say are the top 3 factors now of a top SEO website? What are your thoughts on that?
Probably the top, generally speaking in broad categories, you're looking at 3 things. 1 is content, 2 is relevance, 3 is interaction. Can somebody, and I'll start with interaction because interaction is a very vague concept when it comes to a website. If I can interact with your site, I'm more likely to spend more time there. So regardless of what service or product you are offering, if I can spend more time on your site, A, that's less time on your competitor's site, and B, that's more time that I'm learning about you to make a more informed decision.
Mm-hmm.
So interaction in a variety of ways, whether I'm playing or stopping videos, reading. If you have a very technical product, perhaps somebody's reading a lot of documentation about the product or service. Whatever increases that time on site is important. If I'm going from page to page, that's important. So the interaction is key. Content, certainly. One thing that we've been stressing to clients for years now is the days of if you build it, they will come do not exist. When the movie Field of Dreams stopped playing, that was when that concept was eliminated. You have to give people a reason to be there. You have to constantly stay updated with your content, which is why blogging is so critical in today's world for websites. So as long as your content is relevant, people are engaging with it in a variety of ways, or at least one really good way, and it's keeping them on the site. And the content is good. I would say there's no reason for Google not to like you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's true. If you can get people to your website and engage with your website, that's even a stronger signal than doing all the meta tag optimization and keyword research. Because there are sites that rank on page 1 of Google that never heard of a meta tag.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of people coming to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Google's measuring not only how many people are coming, what type of people are coming. Google's measuring what are they doing when they get there, where are they leaving, I mean, it's the old joke, Google knows everything. Yeah, they kind of do because we've told them.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
They're not hacking anything. We've given them all this information completely free of charge.
Yep. Very true. Controls my life. Let's move into some BNI specific questions. So for those of you we have quite a few people watching from the web, I see, just that are not on Blab, but they're watching from the web. So if any of those people are connected to me, feel free to email in your questions, actually, if you have a question for Nathan. But moving over to the BNI subject, Business Networking International, it's a very formal, very structured networking kind of approach. First, I'm curious about how you first heard about BNI. Always like to hear that story. And then how has BNI been helpful to you?
I was brought into BNI by somebody who has, in fact, we just went to our regional awards event, and we all got our badges and things.
Nice.
So yeah, I just I'm 2.5 years in. I joined shortly after relaunching Arkside. I was brought in by a very, very long-term friend of mine, friend of my family's, a guy named Ron Drake. He was just recognized. I think this is now his 10th year in BNI.
Wow.
He very, very strongly believes in relationship marketing, being part of his community. He's volunteering at places and contributing to organizations that he cares about. So when I told him, because he also handles all of my accounting and tax filing, great business called Tax and Bookkeeping Solutions. He said, look, if you want to make this a success, you've got to join BNI. I want to show you the power of this organization. And I will tell you, I had both feet on the brakes. I was the guy. I was like, this is not my thing. I don't care. I'm a marketing guy. I can advertise 100 times and get better results.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. But I attended a meeting. The chapter that he and I are in, incredibly active chapter. It's a vibrant chapter. The relationships between all of the members is fantastic. We go so far beyond just a weekly meeting. We really we're having picnics and bowling parties and I mean, family get-together. Kids are welcome at this stuff. But that's the value of relationship marketing. I mean, it even goes beyond networking. It's our families are hanging out socially. So anyways, Ron was the one that got me into the chapter, sponsored my membership. I had to go back twice, actually, because the first time I was like, well, it was kind of fun. I like the group, but I don't know. Went back a second time, and I was completely hooked.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
So how has that? So you've been there 2.5 years. So you must feel some value. I mean, one of the things that BNI does a real good job of is measuring, the profit that you make or the revenue you make as a result of referrals. So it must have, if you've renewed after a year, now going on 2 years, you see some return on your investment. Talk a little bit about that, how you've seen it help your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I have found most valuable is that it has opened some doors into client industries that I may not have otherwise pursued, simply because of the variety of people in the room in a BNI meeting. So one of my absolute favorite clients is a termite and pest control company. Huh. It's a small local business, family owned and operated, just celebrated their 25-year anniversary. But it's to get into that industry and learn about that, it's really helped me understand what challenges they face in terms of marketing, and how do we help them address that? Because there's not a lot of advertising entities that focus solely on the world of pest control. Right. And I'm not saying that we do, but learning more about their industry and applying things that we've learned from other clients, other industries, other verticals, we've been able to give them a little bit of a shift where they've seen their branding greatly enhanced. So I think that's been one of the greatest elements of it, is that it has opened some doors that I probably wouldn't have even knocked on previously. Yep. And I see a lot of value in that because of the relationships. And then at the core of your question, Yes, absolutely. There was a strong ROI measurement. So that was why after the first year contract, I renewed for 2, and I intend to renew for another 2 next time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Very nice. What,
Yeah.
Nathan, what is really the oh, well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said it's been a great group, and I'm glad I joined 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. The key to getting referrals, it's a mystery to some of us, and I always like to ask, how do you consistently give referrals to your fellow BNI members?
I think the lessons that we're all trying to learn in BNI, and BNI is certainly trying to teach us. I think there's a lot of credibility to, well, a lot of strength to the term. Visibility brings credibility, which brings profitability. You only do business with people that you know, like, and trust.
Yep.
I think that as much as they've become sort of cliche and sloganish, those are absolutely true. I mean, you break it down, and there's no really way to argue with that. I don't want to do business with people that I don't like. I don't want to do business with people that I don't trust. I certainly don't want to do business with somebody I don't know. So if I can learn more about them, it makes me giving referrals out easier, because when I'm sitting in front of a client or a friend or a family member, and they mention something about, with the market improving, I've really thought about moving. Fantastic. I know a real estate agent named Susan Krug. She's wonderful. The day I move, she's my phone call. It makes it so much better because it's based on a relationship versus a monetary gain. It's not like a referral program where for every lead I give out, I get $20. It's no. These are the people that I've used. These are the people that I trust my company to. These are the people that I trust my family with, etc. That's the best part of the referral. That's the easiest way to do it. It's just listen for people when they mention somebody that you know in BNI.
So what advice do you give to like a new member or someone considering becoming a member?
With regard to how to be successful?
Well, if they're considering like joining a BNI group, or you're reaching out and you're suggesting to somebody to consider it as an opportunity to grow their business. What kind of advice? What do you tell those people?
I think it's very important for them to understand that they will only get out of it what they put in. Quite often, I've brought in visitors. I've had new prospective members talk to me privately, and a lot of it is I don't want to wake up at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. I said, well, that's good, because you have to wake up at 6 to be there at 7. So, bottom line, if you can't commit the hour and a half for the betterment of your business, if I were to come to you, forget BNI, if I were to come to you and say, look, I want to give you a contract, I want you to handle whatever you do, for your business. I want you to handle that for me, but you're going to have to sit in a meeting for an hour and a half. Is it worth it? Nobody says no to that. If you can gain a new client for an hour and a half, fantastic. Go do that. So I think it's just helping people understand that there is a time commitment, but don't think of it as a commitment. Think of it as an investment.
Yeah. Good philosophy.
And if you don't put in the necessary time, if you don't get to know people, if you don't teach them about your business, if your weekly meeting, if your weekly presentation, your 60-second, if that doesn't work, then you're not investing properly, and it's not going to work for you.
Yep. Good thoughts.
Very good.
What's been your challenge with BNI? Have you had one that you've overcome?
Well, it's referrals. I love going to BNI. Pardon?
Giving or getting?
Giving.
Okay.
I'm not consistent, and I want to be consistent, Nathan. I want to, really, it's my goal every week to have a referral, at least one referral. And it's been difficult. It really has. I mean, we're all at our desks so often because we're doing work on the computer. We're not out as much, and it's a challenge. And I really want to give more than or give as much at least as I'm getting. And thankfully, I did have a referral this past week. So That's the biggest challenge.
One of the things that I would challenge the group to do is do a better job of being very specific about what is a good referral for them. Some people say, well, anybody who's a business owner is a good referral to me. No, that's a little bit too general. Not anybody who's a business owner. How about does anybody know someone who works in the National Institutes of Health? I'm interested in speaking to someone who works at NIH. Does anybody have any contact or someone they could introduce me to? That's much more specific.
But is it specific enough?
No, probably not.
Because I might know the janitor. I don't know if that's going to help you.
Well, see, now it might help you. I've actually...
Sure, it might. But if I ask for anybody at the National Institutes of Health, which employs tens of thousands of people, could I be more specific? I may want to be introduced to an HR manager.
Very good.
I may want to be introduced to John Smith. The more specific you can get, the better you're going to find the return.
Excellent point. So bringing that funnel down to, business owner, NIH, the HR director. Or even a personal name, if you start putting out, specific names. Or one of the things that our settlement attorney did in our last meeting was she brought a list of the top 100 realtors in Washington, D.C., and she passed it around. She says, if anybody knows anyone on this list, let me know.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
One of the things, and we do this when we're especially onboarding a new client, in most cases, we find that their customer profile, which is the term we use, is very badly defined. And when we walk a client through the process of defining their target market, we get down to the level of a name. And I don't mean a specific person's name, but to the point where we can relate to that target customer, that ideal customer, on a first name basis. So, for company X, we know that their target market is Mary. She's a 35-year-old Caucasian female, probably has 2 to 3 children, approximately 45 years old. Household income is about $80,000 a year. Both her and her husband work. They love to go outdoors on the week, blah, 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 blah. Ad infinitum. You could do that forever. But it's because if you don't get down to that level, then you're getting closer to who's your target market? Everybody. Wrong. It's never everybody.
Yep.
There is not a single industry, unless you are God making oxygen, there's not a single entity that says my audience is everyone. You have to get down to who is the best that I can target. What's the most valuable target for me? And then if you pick up secondaries and closely related and similars, and that's fine. But get down to brass tacks. Go find Mary and understand her. Then you'll understand how to generate all the marketing that should follow her around.
Excellent. Personas. That's it. That customer persona. Like
just take the A and the S off the end of that. Person.
Nice. That's actually the strategy I use for Facebook marketing. Is instead of saying I'm looking for parents, no, that you're looking for that 45-year-old African American mother who lives in this part of Washington. Then the argument I get is, well, I don't want to leave anybody out. Yes, you do. You want to leave as many people out as you can so you can get to that that perfect customer that will if you can really hyper target some of those ads.
Sure.
We're getting to the end of our broadcast here, so. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you? I know Stephanie's been shooting in all kinds of links in the sidebar over there with your Twitter account and your LinkedIn. What's the way you prefer to be contacted?
Best way is probably via phone. Certainly any social media, because that's a large part of the services that we offer in both teaching and also generating results on how social media can be used. Social media is great, but really. The target that we're looking for, to get back to that topic, is we're looking for businesses that want to grow. If you want to understand how to utilize traditional and digital media together, if you want to understand how to develop your marketing budget in a way that doesn't break the bank, but at the same time generates returns, then that's fantastic. Our strength, especially our category in BNI, is traditional media. And if somebody wants to understand how do they do that, in addition to, or maybe adding digital to that, we've got some great digital partners. We've got some great printing and promotional product partners. But that company that wants to grow and develop a great marketing strategy, that's sort of generically speaking the ones that we're looking for. And best way to reach me again is either phone or email.
Well, let me circle around back to that, because I wanted to hear a little bit more about your target market. So it's companies. Do you have a particular niche or type of company that you work with best with, or particular size or location?
Yeah. Our specialty is any business that's regulated. So what I mean by that is anybody where there's some other entity that can slap your hand for doing it wrong. That hand slap could be a citation. That hand slap could be the loss of your license. Could be jail time. But if there's some entity, car dealers, for example, they're obviously bound by state and federal laws in their marketing. They are bound by their manufacturers in their marketing. Lawyers, they are bound by state bar agencies, state bars. Education institutions, especially now with the DOE finding every for-profit college they can find. Financial planners. Those are example industries where they have to be very careful in what they say, how they say it, when they say it, and who they say it to.
Very good.
That's our core strength. Do we help everyone else? Yes, absolutely. But we're very good at keeping our clients compliant so that they're not facing penalties down the road.
Excellent. That is a quite well-defined audience. Well job. You're taking your own you're taking your own medicine.
And I so rarely do that I'm trying to get better.
Very good.
It's sort of, in fact, we just did an ad for ourselves. It's sort of the first time in forever, but sort of that story of the cobbler's shoes. We're always the last to advertise. Ad agencies are notorious for not advertising.
Yep.
But we certainly do marketing, just not advertising in a traditional sense. But we're getting better at that. So yeah, taking our own advice is important.
Well, I have to say, you do a fantastic job on social media. I follow you everywhere. You're on LinkedIn, and do you personally manage all those accounts? Because I see I find your business like all over, and it seems very personal.
I manage all of my personal accounts.
Okay.
I certainly have access to my company accounts, but I have a digital team that handles that. So they're more responsible for the content than I am. I'm more just overlooking. Okay, good. I like that one, and then coming back to my own. But we try to be as present as possible because we want people to see what we do.
And the other thing you do do a really good job at, which I think you're probably in the top 5% of BNI members in the world, is actually using BNI Connect as a social media platform. Updating your profile on there, adding people as guests. It's kind of like a LinkedIn. It's like a LinkedIn. It's like a closed LinkedIn group, right? Yeah,
I would love BNI Connect to take the next level and be what it could be. But for what it is today, I view it as a tool. I enter all of my referrals and thank you for closed businesses and all of that online. I try to update the status whenever we have something that's worth announcing. So I certainly try to do that. But it's one of those things that goes back to that previous conversation we had. If BNI gives you the tools and you don't use them, whose fault is it when you don't get a referral? Exactly. Yours.
Exactly. And that's really how we've stayed connected or got connected. I found you through BNI Connect. You're like you were the first person outside of my BNI chapter that I connected with, and I've stayed in touch with you for that. However long it's been, a year. It's been over a year. I know.
Yeah, I think it has been, and it's been wonderful following you around and seeing all the updates you post both on your personal social media as well as Low Big Inc.
Yep. Thank you. So one of the things I would ask of you, Nathan, is that if you have anybody who you think this particular show, this BNI Blast on Blab show, that would be useful or interested in to help kind of get the word out for their business, we turn this into a YouTube video and they can use it and post it on their channels. I'd invite you to tell your fellow BNI members about our show. And for those of you who are watching, if you're interested, if you're a BNI member, this is pretty exclusively for BNI members. We do occasionally though, probably once a month or so, we'll do kind of an open networking. We'll just invite anyone to kind of come on and talk about business referrals and networking. But if you're a BNI member and you'd like to be interviewed, we have a URL that you can visit called bniblast.com. And that'll link to a landing page on my website where you can kind of see these previous broadcasts and then fill out a request form about your interest in participating as an interviewee.
Well, I can tell you that I've already seen 2 of my fellow chapter members log in during the course of this blast. So
Okay.
The word is spreading here on the West Coast.
Very good. Very good.
Yay, good.
And listen, I very much appreciate you guys for bringing me into this. I love the first one that I saw a few weeks ago. You guys do a great show, and I think the fact that you're tying in BNI to the whole thing, but allowing people to talk about their business and their specialties and educate others on how to do something better. I think you guys get two. Hold on, I can actually do that. I can give you props.
That's
There
right.
you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Guys.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, just for those of you watching, our next show will be next Thursday. We're going to be interviewing a woman by the name of Stephanie Lewis from Entrepreneurs Source. She's a business coach, and she actually is the BNI regional director here in Maryland. And so she's excited to come on. And thank you for any closing thoughts or words of advice for the group before we sign off.
Define your goals in marketing and then work backwards.
Fantastic. We'll leave it there.
All right.
That's tweet that.
Excellent advice.
There you go. Yeah, it's a tweet. Yeah.